Welcome to Called to Homeschool with your host, Meg Thomas. I am a mother of 7 with 5 homeschool graduates. Each week, we'll talk about real-life homeschool, mindset shifts, and practical tools you can use in your home. Because homeschooling isn't just about school, it's about restoring the family. Welcome back to Called to Homeschool, friends. Today, we are wrapping up our 3-part parenting series with pillar number 3. Clear rules, clear boundaries. If you've listened to the first 2 episodes, you already know pillar number 1 is ignore the noise. Just ignore it, friends. There's so much good that just comes from ignoring things that just don't matter, right? Pillar number 2 is noticing the good and telling them. So I'm not asking you to put in all this new energy. I'm just asking you to switch it from putting your energy into putting out fires and from the chaos instead of putting your energy into preventing fires and preventing chaos. Now we're moving into the structure that holds everything together, boundaries. Because here's the truth. When your kids know the boundaries and what happens when those boundaries are crossed, the power struggles not only start to fade, but eventually they are just gone. So often the chaos we feel in parenting doesn't come from our kids being bad. It comes from expectations that aren't clear, or consequences that aren't consistent, or rules we enforce sometimes, but not always. And that inconsistency creates confusion. Confusion creates pushback, and pushback turns into power struggles. Boundaries fix that. Boundaries are not punishments. They are not threats. They are not emotional reactions. A boundary is simply a clear rule plus a clear follow through. And here's the part most parents miss. The boundary does the teaching for you. You don't have to lecture. You don't have to threaten. You don't need to raise your voice or get dramatic. You just calmly follow through with what's already been established. That's why boundaries feel so peaceful, because they move you out of reactivity and into leadership. Boundaries give you the confidence to respond calmly instead of reacting emotionally. And they give your kids something incredibly important: predictability. Kids thrive when they know what the rules are, why they exist, and what will happen if they're broken. Predictability creates safety. Safety creates regulation. Regulation creates cooperation. This is why happy habits work so well. It takes the mystery out of the expectations in your home. It simplifies your routines. It keeps things clear, consistent, and doable. Let me show you how this sounds in real life. Instead of, if you keep fighting, I'm taking away the park later. You just follow through with the consequence you've already established. If your kids fight, there is no park later. I don't need to remind them. It's already created, right? They understand the rules. They already know what the consequences will be. And then follow through. Nothing dramatic, right? Nothing emotional, just steady leadership. When the kids want to go to the park, say, oh, darn, I really wanted to go today, but remember, when we fight, we lose our park privileges. Let's try again tomorrow. No drama. Just, once again, steady leadership. Because when your children understand the rules and you hold those rules with love and calmness, your home becomes a place of peace and predictability, not pressure and a punishment. Boundaries aren't about controlling your kids. They're about guiding them, teaching them, helping them learn cause and effect, helping them trust that you are steady, safe, and clear. Kids may resist boundaries in the moment, but they crave them long term. Boundaries help them feel anchored. Struggling in your homeschool? You don't have to. Check out the Homeschool Bootcamp at CoachMegThomas.com. So I have talked to people about this before, about the 3 different things. And they said, Meg, I've done this before. I've done the calm. I've looked for the good. I've ignored the noise, but the boundary piece is not working. Friends, you need to have boundaries too with the happy habits. And you can grab happy habits on my website, www.coachmegthomas.com, to really help you create the most clear rules and clear boundaries using happy habits. But you have to be in there too. If you are yelling, if you are really negative and critical, and you have no consequences, then it is very difficult for your child to be, why do I have consequences to my choices, but you do not, right? So you really want to show them that all of us have consequences to their choices. Friends, last November, when we did No Yell November, I did the consequence with my happy habits and my own boundaries of not being negative of my boys' chores. And this is hard for me because that very critical eye of mine that can be helpful in other areas of my life, that very critical eye of me when my boys do their chores and I want to point out what I think they did wrong. And I'm not yelling or even like, you're an idiot. I'm not insulting them, right? But I'm probably more sarcastic and I'm negative and critical with them. And so I made that my happy habits, and there was a consequence to my choice. If I was negative and critical with them when they did their chores, guess what? The next day, I had to do their chores. This November was the first November that I completely stopped being critical with my boys' chores. Now, What does that mean when my boys needed help? I could calmly say, oh, hey, let me help you. Oh, we missed a spot. Let me help you. Instead of that negative, the critical, teasing, or something like that. So it doesn't mean that you just go to Happy Land and just ignore the chaos. There's always teaching, but now your children have this safe space of teaching because you are coming at this at a very calm, confident, and amazing leader. So what a way to end 2025 podcast episode with the last pillar of parenting, friends. If you can download the Happy Habits, all of this is in the Homeschool Bootcamp and more. You go and check it out. Love you so much. Have an amazing rest of your week. Thanks so much for listening to Call to Homeschool. If today's episode was helpful, the best way you can support the show is by leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It helps more homeschool moms find this work, and I appreciate it so much.